Hi guys, welcome back to the Last Set Podcast, episode 148. We are getting closer to the 150 mark. Thank you so much for supporting me along this way. Now today I've got two very special guests. We've got the always reoccurring MAARK, who has now become the most visited guest, most frequent guest on the podcast, total of 5 times now. And
what are you rolling your eyes for?
And we've got the long-awaited, he's been patient, he's finally back. He's my good friend and brother from another mother, Vince. Welcome back, brother.
Yes. Not my 5th, not my second.
40 episodes ago, you came on. But I'll say this, okay? You were the first person, you and Keisha were the first guests to have in here.
Wow.
Yeah. So you guys, even though it's not the most occurring, you guys were the firsts. So
it's okay.
It's been a
It's
long.
just I'm glad I'm back, you know. It's not about, you know, who's had more numbers. We're not that young anymore, you know, how many. It's okay.
So, man, you've been doing really well for yourself lately as well. I mean, the special part about this episode is that MAARK is one of your clients as well, and he's been busting his ass lately, working hard. But recently, MAARK, you've been telling me you had a bit of issues with the mass gainers. give him some insight about that, you know, why we're here.
Yeah, well, you know, as the calories go up, eventually you hit a point where it's like, whole foods are difficult to get down. So I was like, go down to Supmart, grab myself a mass gainer, problem solved, just like that. Next day, have my mass gainer. Ooh, it went down all right. And then a couple hours later, the trouble began. It wasn't so much like stomach pain, it was more just like an uncomfortable feeling. It's very slight though. I was like, like I guess this is better than feeling like I want to puke every time I eat because I'm so full. And then and then the toilet the toilet sessions began.
Just see you walking into the toilets with your newspaper ready to flip over. Just
I think I went about 3 times during my shoulders and arms session yesterday.
yeah. Well, when do you consume it?
I had it for breakfast.
Yeah.
I was a bit wary. I was like, should I actually have breakfast? Like, this is a lot of, you know, stuff for the body to handle first thing during the day. But I was like, fuck it. Let's see how it goes.
So, to call me Vince, why did you get him on that? Prescribe him on that? What was the goal we're trying to attain?
Oh, I mean, you know, we're about how many months since your comp in April? At least 6 months now, so.
Yeah, and I'm like only just 10 kilos up. Only just.
And, you know, it's not too bad. He looks amazing. Still very lean.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to look like lean right now, but especially with how much we've been bringing his food up. So it's just been you know, he wants to switch divisions. We got to put some more size on.
Oh, we're switching divisions. What is he hoping to go to?
Well, ideally, like by the time I start prep again, I have enough muscle to do classic physique. But again, it's just kind of, you know, see where we're at before we start prep.
Yeah. Takes time.
Yeah.
Takes time. And we have time, so we don't need to add excess fat or weight that is unnecessary because of a short time frame. So just slowly build him up, you know, makes his maintenance the calories go up as well as we go along. And yeah, who doesn't want to eat a lot of food and still look like this guy? But at a point, it does get hard. I mean, I'm on the same amount as he is, 4,000?
About 4,100.
You're a little more than me. But yeah, it's tough. It's not easy.
How do you do it? Like, how do you maintain eating that much? Like, yeah.
Well, you know, you got to train hard. More food means you could train harder as well.
Mm.
So, you know, intensity goes up in the training and everything. You know, a little more steps within a day if possible. But even with all that, you know, 5-6 sessions a week, that's a lot of food. You know, and like Mark was saying, he was trying to do whole, clean foods. It's not easy. Like, I have Biscoff. I have sometimes Oreo Biscoff cookies. I'll do bacon. I'll do, you know, all these things to try to make up enough calories, not just fats, but, you know, all my macros. And yeah, you start to get to a point where it's like, it's like harder than the workouts or harder than anything else. Just trying to consume and feel like comfortable, You know what I mean? Get to a point at night where you're like, oh, it's 9 and I still have to eat 500 calories. And then you want to let that go down before you sleep. You know what I mean? So it's like, you do get to a point where you feel away. And that's where you kind of like, okay, let's just take a break, 1, 2, 3 weeks. Then we'll come back, keep building from there. So,
okay. So I know it's a weird thing to ask, but sometimes, do you guys ever trying that technique that some bodybuilders do where they literally get up in the middle of the night, have a small meal, and go back to bed?
I mean, no, not me, because I'm trying to get my sleep. But look, it's to whatever someone could adhere to at the end of the day. I mean, if this is your full-on life and you could, you know, risk getting up in the middle of the night, eating, letting that go down, then going back to sleep for enough time to get your, 7-8 hours, sure. But I think most of us just want to sleep through the night and not have to, re-wake up, cook, or warm something up, eat it, go back to sleep. So I personally haven't, but it's like I say, if you can stick to it and you can do it, then yeah. And also if you have a goal and you have to eat this certain amount or you got to do whatever it is, got to find a way to make it happen.
True. So. Well, one thing I always found, though, with those mass gainers, it's always something really good to go down after the workout.
Yeah, I never
had it before.
I never really did mass gainers. I never told you. Sorry, Mark.
Mass gainers was actually a thing for me because back when I was trying to get ready for a BJJ comp, I was like, okay, I had to put on a certain amount, and I always found that was the way to go. I felt like they go down best right after a workout where you need to be replenished. And the other reason why is because a lot of those mass gainers, they do have a significant amount of sugars in them. One thing I've noticed.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fuck, all right, I don't want that to turn fat. So I will actually want to have that sugar so it can turn me to at least baseline or just a little bit above it. So that's fine. But one thing I always found is I don't ever recommend having a mass gainer for breakfast and going to go train afterwards, especially when you're in pre-workout. Your toilet will hate you for life. It's like like a broken sewer pipe.
You're not wrong.
And then the shit just comes out, and then next thing you know, you're wiping that off.
I think the issue with them is just like we're not equipped to handle that amount of like nutrients in quotations all at once. Like you're not supposed to digest 225 grams of carbs all of a sudden, 90 of which is sugar, and then you got 45 protein and like maybe 5 fat in there. It's just like it's gonna shock the body.
But it's always, to me, like mass gainers have always been highly debated on whether or not they work. I do believe they work to some extent, but I never believe they should ever be relied upon.
I don't know. Like I say, it's very preference based, like on the person and what they can and can't handle. Everyone's a bit different. I mean, personally, I make my shakes and I'll just add foods to make up calories now. Maybe you do that and add half a serving of the mass gainer. You know what I mean? So it's not as much of like the processed mass protein carb shake that you have, but then you put some whole oats, banana, like your own actual foods in there. Might make it a bit easier, but yeah, it's still just tough. It is tough. So,
well, it's true. And referring back to supplements, I feel like the companies are just coming up with more and more stuff these days.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember when testosterone hit the market here in Australia?
Man.
And literally everybody and their dog was on it. And I'm just like thinking to myself, and then they were saying, oh, it got compared to like a natural steroid. And I thought to myself, there's barely any research. So I personally took it myself, but like obviously working at the time inside a supplementation company, obviously getting a discount. In terms to some extent, the benefits was just very minimal, but definitely not enough to justify the price. And then there was all these people like coming on about it and all these people trying to replicate it. I feel like now testosterone is going to probably get pushed away for a little bit.
Oh, it already
has. Pop up in the market in like another 5 years or so.
Yeah, because especially after the whole like Derek more plates, more dates like scandal and Greg Doucette scandal with their testosterone.
Well, what was the scandal?
The issue was like the testing labs that Derek was using wasn't testing them correctly / were something funny was going on. So he was under the assumption that what was in the product was legit and was fully dosed, and so he was selling it as that. But in reality, when a third party sort of testing, body came and did testing on the labs that were doing the testing on the testosterone to make sure that it's quality assurance, it was actually bunk. Like there wasn't actually a clinical dose of what was supposed to be in there.
What was it under then? Under a clinical dose or?
Way under / it was using other sort of substances that were similar to testosterone.
Well, if it's more plates, more dates, was there one of those substances trend by any chance? Just a trend.
That's very illegal.
Hey, what's in this testosterone? Debo. Oh, cool. But no, I mean, that's where I feel like we're going nowadays. I mean, as now being a PT, Vince being a PT, when people come to me and say, oh, what supplement should I take off the back? I say, look, let's do at least a good amount of training first, then we can dive a little bit into it. I feel like establishing a good habit is the first thing you want to do, actually getting when working out. Once they're actually working out, once they're moving, then you look at nutrition. Okay, once you look at nutrition, then we look at supplementation. Supplementation for me has always been like the last step in everything, whereas now it's just these kids coming in one day and they're buying like pre-workout and just like dry scooping it, which have always been like anti-dry scooping.
Dry scooping's dumb.
That's not you, Joe? That
Not
with
me.
pre-workout?
Not
The
me,
10
no.
different types, no?
I take 10 different. I've been there. I've been down
The concoctions.
That road. I've been down that road, to pretty much have a liquid crack, but I never dry scooped it.
Well, dry scooping doesn't work because
Thank
you need the water for the ingredients to bind and actually work.
According to TikTok, that's not true. Fuck that. Yeah. Anyway, so there's one main thing I really wanted to bring up now since I've both got you back on here together. So, Mark, you're going to be presenting at the, was it YNF tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow. I'm doing like all the backstage kind of, helping with all the athletes and that kind of thing, making sure it all runs smoothly. And then I think in the afternoon I'm presenting like the medals and stuff for the sports athlete division, which I won last season, so.
The champ.
Now, since we're on that topic, somebody's making a comeback.
Oh, who is it?
If I had a button, I'd play that LL Cool J song, Don't Call It a Comeback.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Yeah, so
JC,
let's talk about that, man. What's the story? What made you want to get back on the stage?
Oh, I mean, I had a little transition in life beginning of the year, so resituated myself in a new environment with work and focusing on my business. So kind of building that up and then getting to a point where it's good and needing something to push myself and challenge myself. And, me being the retired gridiron American football player that I am, I need to, compete in something because I have that type of mindset and need to challenge myself. So, maybe my client inspired me a bit, and and especially, like I said, the gym I'm at now, there's a lot of people that, not only just compete in bodybuilding, but do other, sport or, competitor type of competitions. They, very supportive and inspiring, motivating. So thought, why not? And my partner, obviously, Keisha, I got to keep up with her. So
Is she going to be jumping back on stage again too next year?
at some point next year, yeah. Not
Okay.
sure. Not at the beginning, not when I do it, but
You guys going to be doing the whole prep thing together, or are you going to have him done first and then you're going to jump on?
no, he
No,
has
Oh.
more time. He's not doing next season. He
Yeah.
has maybe even till 2024. We'll see.
Okay.
We got to get all this food down first. Eat more food, get more size. So,
So what are you hoping to jump into then?
myself,
Yeah.
I'm going to do season A.
Okay.
I don't know if it's April or May, but yeah.
What division?
Oh, men's physique.
Men's physique?
Yeah, that's all I do. Maybe classic. We'll see how the legs look.
We'll
see.
just know that.
Yeah. Are you filming this? No? Darn.
Nah. The thing is, that's not what we're doing at the moment. I mean, I've actually been asked that as well. Why I don't film my episodes is because yet I don't have a proper camcorder. I was actually looking to the actual cost of those fucking things.
Yeah.
Like worth $1,000 at least at each.
Maybe if people can see you, good looking guy and good looking people you have in, well, sometimes maybe. But,
Well, it's coming down that road. So doing this for over 2.5 years now, I didn't expect myself to be staying inside the hen house for this long. I mean, I fucking love this place. It's brilliant. But the problem is with it, obviously paying money for an hour, and then you have to come in and set everything up. If I came in here and did an hour episode, and I have to spend like 10, 15 minutes setting up, and then get into the actual podcast, and always the first 10, 15 minutes is introducing the guest, getting them comfortable, and then it's 30 minutes of whatever. It's not enough time to dive into it. So that's why I never video recorded it. But obviously me and my partner, we're going to be leaving. We're staying in where we're staying right now. We're renting. Hopefully we have to get a new place at the end of the year or before next year. It'll be a little bit bigger so I can actually have a room, because I've got all the equipment. Like I've got the Rodecaster, I've got the mics, just don't have the actual space for it. But the reason why I also like this place as well is because this setup, obviously I would like some shit there and some decorations and all that, but this is exactly how I actually wanted to have that podcast. Like, you ever listen to those podcasts, it was just those people in the couches? They're all right, and they're just holding up the mics. I'm like, that's okay, but I just always like the very formal desks, laptop, microphones, chairs that rotate back. You know, like, that's my style, you know. Anyway, moving on from that, you guys are hearing all this hype about the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary?
Yep. Oh, yeah, you watch both of them on Netflix.
Like both of them.
Yeah, there's the one with it's like a TV show. Well, not TV show, but like a series of acting out what happened, and then there's another one which actually has like the tapes and the interviews of people who worked on the crime scene, everything. Almost like a documentary. So.
Oh, okay. So what's your whole take on the whole thing?
Well, it's crazy. I mean, that just goes to show it was like 19. I wasn't born yet. I think I was born when before he died. But yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, it just shows how America is. And if you think of it, right, they kind of make it seem like, oh, how can this guy get away with that when he was already charged with stuff? You know, people already were calling cops on him, questioning him. Nothing was done. You know, it's like, maybe because he was a white guy, they thought it was racism. They thought maybe because of, you know, what was it? The LGBT community was just starting. So people didn't really look into it as much. So they kind of said it was a police fault.
Yeah, well, I did watch in the TV show. I actually did kind of feel sorry for that poor lady that lived below him. And the whole time she was trying to call the cops on him.
Oh, no, the one next door. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she was like, the whole time she was hearing all the screams and stuff, and then the cops never did anything.
Yep.
So, oh my God, that is absolutely berserk. But,
yeah.
but
the little, like the young 14-year-old who was naked in the street. And all if they did was ran his name, they would have known, but they didn't. So, and then he died. So it's just like, it's crazy how, you know, but more crazy just like, he's just like, yeah, I just did it. You know, he's so calm when he talks.
Yeah.
He talks about it.
I think that was what made him, like, really, like, that's what gave him that sort of, like, oh, my God, like, this is the literal Satan, because he didn't have any remorse. He admitted to doing it as well. Whereas it was like, when it was like Ted Bundy, he never confessed to any of the murders, or maybe he might confess to some, but mostly he denied all the murders right up to his death. Whereas when he was caught, he's like, yeah, I did it. And he's like, I shouldn't have been alive this long. But here's the main question I got to ask. Why is it that people such as, you know, why is it things like Netflix and the general public, why is it that we love serial killer shit so much? Like, we keep seeing the John Wayne Gacy tapes. We keep seeing, like, Ted Bundy, played by Zac Efron. And I'm just like...
Well, I guess it's fascinating, right? It like taps into that sort of, you know, mindset that you're, quote unquote, you know, you're not allowed to have, right? It's like the deepest and darkest depths of humanity that we're not supposed to think about or act upon, and it draws us in because, you know, it's not something you think about day to day if you're a good person, I guess.
I don't know. Give the people what they want. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, just one question. Why do we want to watch this? Why do we enjoy this? Like, I remember watching that part where he came up with the idea of, like, drilling holes in people's heads. And I was thinking to myself, why the fuck do people actually enjoy watching something like this? This is stuff as nightmares. Yeah. And then it kind of got me thinking about, why are we making serial killers famous but cancelling people for less petty shit? You know what I mean?
It's the world we live in.
So, yeah, it's a bit of glorification, right?
Yeah, I think it's also like a double standard because there's this other thing that's been making waves lately. Have you guys heard about that Marilyn Monroe movie? No? Okay. So I don't remember her name specifically, but there was a Marilyn Monroe movie that got made called Blonde, and it got criticized because they believed that it was okay, I can't say the fucking word properly. Fetishizing.
Fantasizing?
Fetish, as in
Fetish.
fetishizing.
Fetishize.
Thank you, that's the word. Fetish. Can you say that again for me?
I don't did I say it right?
Making fetish of.
Yeah, there you go. Making fetish of rape, sexual assault.
Right.
Because that's what she had to go through, and that's what the movie capitalizes on a lot. It capitalizes on the abuse that Marilyn Monroe suffered under the hands of like Hollywood giants. Like we're talking like Harvey Weinstein type figures, which is fucking horrible. It's disgusting. I mean, what she had to go through.
It's just anything, man. It's sports. It's acting. It's anything.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
So, and I'm just like, this actually, like, but that's what she had to go through, and they're not trying to fetishize it. They're trying to like depict her as like, no, she was a woman who put up with a lot, but she became an icon, and that's why everyone remembers her. And then we look at Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm like, no one's trying to cancel him or the stuff he shows, except we're actually, believe it or not, Evan Peters got like PTSD from like pretending to be serial killers all the time.
Yeah, shit.
He actually got traumatized and no one cared about that sort of stuff. So that's what I'm like, this is such a double standard nowadays. Like how people are cancelling others for that. Yeah. Anyway, so here's another thing. In the world of like documentaries and all that, in the world, you guys in the world of movies, you guys gonna see that Black Adam when it comes out?
It looks pretty good, hey?
The Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys hear about the story they had to put out recently about his costume? No.
It's too tight.
No, actually, it was he showed up one day. I think it was like 3 weeks before the movie was meant to start filming, and then they put in for a costume fitting and all that. And then what they did was they put padding in it as well. For a man as big as The Rock, he goes into that and he looks even bigger. And then he was just so ashamed. He was so disgusted that they did that. He literally said to the director, "Remove the padding or I walk." And then so that was the story. That's why one of the reasons why it got delayed, because of his costume and all that. So when you actually see him on the screen, it's like wearing a skin tight suit and all that. That's because that's what he actually requested, and even got more jacked and all. Yeah.
Well, I think on that topic, it's like, I think the way the Rock's physique is, it's not that like, because he has more like narrow clavicles in a sense, maybe they wanted to have that sort of like golden shoulder to waist ratio. Like he is a huge dude, but it's not like maybe they wanted a certain look that, like, The Rock is obviously the pinnacle of human muscularity, right? But from a bodybuilding sense, like maybe he could have wider shoulders, maybe he could have a narrower waist. Maybe that's why they wanted that proportionate, shoulders. That's why they added the padding kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. The Rock's all natural, man. That's all I can say.
That guy.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, it's just the kind I was thinking as well, because like we talk about unnatural body standards and all that, it's always mainly for like people always, it's something that's always associated with women, but then we got guys like The Rock and now it's associated with him and all that.
Yeah, it's like the ideal male body standard right now is taking copious amounts of performance enhancers to kill your insides. That's the pinnacle of male masculinity at the moment.
What's your take on that?
It's very unhealthy. It's a very unhealthy way to view yourself and those that you look up to. Trying to strive to become a healthier, better version of yourself is great. But when it gets to a point where you start abusing your body in certain ways, maybe you take performance enhancers, maybe you have unhealthy eating habits, and then the onslaught of mental health issues that come along with that. I think it's a slippery slope. And I agree. I think it is a bit overlooked compared to the like the, what do you call it, the body standards among women, I guess. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like like if you're doing bodybuilding and you're trying to be the best, right? I mean, you have to. If you're The Rock and you're old and you got a standard to uphold and a look, or some actors, you got a time for, you know what I mean? Like, it's very dependent. But like Mark said, right? If you're just doing it to do it because you feel you have to look that image, then you're going to cause more harm than maybe good. So to yourself. So yeah, it's just very dependent. You just got to do it the right way. You still have to eat right, train hard. So you can't just take it and then, ooh, I look great. You still got to work hard. Do all the things that you normally have to do. It's just something that gives you more appetite, speeds up your recovery, more muscle size, all that. Yeah. So
I've always been totally okay with it, just as long as it's not lying.
Well, don't lie.
Because that's something I feel like Hollywood loves to do.
Don't do like a natural show and be on it. You know what I mean?
Michael Hearn.
Yeah. Or once again, like don't be on social media or just boasting. Yeah, I'm natural. If you're not, especially to profit from something, like if you're on it, then you're on it. You know, acknowledge it. Why not?
What are some signs that you can definitely tell that are like, oh, he's 100% on it?
I mean, if you've known them and you saw them at one point looking one way and then not long after, that's one way. But I mean, you could kind of tell specific, you know, like even if you don't know if they're bodybuilders or not, like you could kind of tell in a way, I feel, just by their size and their skin. Sometimes if you look at their skin, the skin kind of looks even tighter and like almost shinier. I don't know how to explain it, but
I think it's also just like a perspective thing. I feel like when you're young, it's really easy to become fixated on your body and your body image, and that can spiral out of control really quickly, and lead you to trying to take shortcuts. For example, you've just stepped foot into the gym and then you all of a sudden want to take SARMs or steroids, aka the broccoli head TikTok boys. But you know, like for example, Larry Wheels recently, like he's come off it all and just on TRT, and it's like as you grow older, like it's kind of like there's more to life than just your body and being the strongest person or being the best bodybuilder. It's like there's more to life to it. And then once you can see that, once you can take a step back and realize that there's more to you than just the muscle, the fat, what, like your physical appearance, that's when you can sort of, you know, accept that. Fuck, where am I going with this?
Sounds very motivational though.
Well, I think it it definitely happened to me during prep, I guess, like becoming hype. Like obviously you have a goal in mind. You want to bring the best package to stay on stage, and it's kind of like you have to put your life on hold for 6 months in order to achieve this thing. And then coming out of it, and then it's like there is more to life to it. And I think a lot of young people don't realize that, like, and that's why they resort to having to take steroids and then having these absurd body image expectations.
Well, there's two things I want to add to that. Do you think it's one of the reasons is because it becomes entirely, like, it's literally consumes their entire personality?
Yes.
And if they feel like they don't have it, they have nothing.
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah, anything. I mean, yeah, like Mark's saying, it's true, and it could just be off of, you know, people wanting to look a certain way and not even do steroids, but saying, well, I'm going to compete because I want to look this certain way, you know, and thinking competing is the way they have to do it to get to that look. And then once again, when they get to that look and then they start reversing and they don't stay that same look, are they going to be strong mentally to be okay and then keep going? Or is it going to mess with them and then, oh, I shouldn't eat more, you know, and then that's when problems come. So whether it's steroids or not, it's anything, it's sports, it's athletes. So if I'm gonna get a scholarship, like especially in America, like, you know, I need to be bigger, faster, stronger. What can I do to be that?
Well, what's your take on then, since we're in the sporting background, what's your take on then steroids being in sports? Do you think they should gradually be introduced into sports? I've said this asked this a few times.
I mean,
what do you think they should always like stay out or?
No, I mean, stay out. Once again, if you're an older man in your 30s as a professional, 40s, Tom Brady, like if your levels are low and you have to TRT to get it there, I mean, hey, balance, that's fine. But no, don't do stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying Tom Brady's doing that. Sorry. I hope this doesn't become famous or whatever because I said that. But like, you get what I mean? Like, still, even then, yeah, I could understand it could still be seen a bit as, you know, maybe just tell someone to retire, stop playing, because they still may get a bit of an advantage, recovery, all that. But no, you got to play by the rules, whatever it is. Once again, bodybuilding, if you can do steroids and you do it, that's the only way you're going to compete and have a, you know, at least realistic shot at competing. You're not going to not do it and try to do a show where people are on stuff. So, you know, and back when you go to sports, you see it in like baseball, people who hit all these home runs and, oh, they were on some type of PED. Well, you got to either figure out how to, you know, penalize them or whatever, because it's not fair for the other people who have been doing it naturally. And not, you know, because what if they did it? Who knows how many they could have done, or vice versa. So,
yeah. I feel like at some point we're going to get to a level in human history, like in humanity is going to get to a point where they're actually going to start incorporating it into sports. I really do. Because if you want to take a topic like baseball, I don't know a whole much about baseball, but I've been reading about steroids in sports. But baseball like was at its peak, like, you know, when everybody was on steroids, like Barry Bonds, he was hitting all those home runs a season, and you got Jose Canseco, and then the Bash brothers as well. And then they all came out and they were all doing it in the locker room and they were all helping out each other in his autobiography. And then that was when baseball was probably at its highest and they were filling stadiums. And it's the other reasons why I slowly believe it's been integrated as well is because I look at WWE wrestlers. I'm not saying all of them. I'm not saying all of them. But most of them have at least taken some shit. But that's what they do. That's what they're there for. It's their character, and that's what makes it so popular. And I honestly believe that that's when they're going to integrate it. Like I say with WWE, like there was the steroid trials that went down in the 90s when Hulk Hogan got in trouble, and who else got in trouble? The Iron Sheik got in trouble, and then even actors like Sylvester Stallone, he got in trouble for it as well. And I'm just saying, yeah, let him. I mean, as long as they're not really breaking the law, important to them is different. But in terms of taking them, like, why not? That's why Rambo is one of the most popular action movies of all time. I
think it will always be taboo, and it will always be viewed as immoral. I don't think it will ever be integrated in sports and / legalizing performance enhancers. Like it's so ironic that the greatest action heroes of the 80s and 90s, everyone that you look up to, were built on steroids. Yeah. Steroids created them, and that's an unequivocal fact. If they did not take steroids, you would not know them. You would not look up to them like the way you do, right? And it's funny that that's how it is. Like, but I don't think we will ever reach a point where it will be seen as not cheating, because, like, for example, the Olympic Games are the pinnacle of human physical achievement, right? Everyone looks up to them as, like, these guys are the top, the elite. 2012, I think it was 2008 Beijing Olympic Games. They introduced retroactive PED testing. 10 years after the Beijing Olympic Games, 9 out of the top 12 Olympic weightlifters got popped for PEDs. Yeah. The guy in 11th got shot up to first, right? It's ridiculous. And it would be, what's the word? Naive of us to assume that all sports are clean, right? At the pinnacle, at the top, the elite of every sport, there is always going to be PEDs. There's always going to be a way around the testing. the more we test and the better we get at testing, the better they get at getting around these tests. And I think that's just always how it's going to be, because we will never, as a society, be able to accept steroids as, like, you know, not cheating.
Either way, but like, if what I mean by it is like, what if the treatment becomes less and less harmful? I'm not talking like massive effects, but ideally I do believe that we will hit a plateau naturally. You know what I mean? Because all the top levels now, they're taking something, but what is the body actually really capable of naturally? Like, how, like, say for example, sprinting. How fast can sprinters really get naturally?
I think it will be a while until we achieve that sort of absolute max of natural potential, because as the population increases, the pool of athletes increases, and the chances of someone beating that record is going to increase, right?
Correct.
But I don't think it'll be anytime soon.
No. But I feel like we will get there eventually.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we should make training legal, but if you could if I gave you something though, Mark, Vince, you take this powder, all right? You're going to get some enhancement for it. You're not going to feel any negative side effects. And now it's legal, but it didn't used to be legal back in the day. Would you take it? If it's had all this medical research backed by it as years go by.
Well,
that's where I'm getting to this, you know.
There was a survey I think they did on Olympic athletes, and it was would you rather win X amount of gold medals and die in 5 years, or never win any event in the Olympic Games?
Yeah.
More than half. Most of them. Yeah.
They love that. But what I mean is just like, imagine if it came onto the shelves in the supplement marts. Nah?
No, that'll never happen.
Like it became the next creatine, you know what I mean?
Then it would,
my favorite part
I
of the
don't
show,
know.
asking these
It would be,
questions.
I don't know how it wouldn't be a PED then, would it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. What used to be turns, like if we take something like a test, okay? Like, you're not like an actual test booster that actually helps you and actually works and gives you some improvement. That's where I'm going down with this.
Yeah.
Does it have any like negative health?
That's what I mean. It doesn't have negative, because it's like it becomes like creatine, you know what I mean? Because everybody's on creatine.
I mean, I guess at that point it just comes down to your moral standards, right?
There we
What
go.
do you think is quote unquote natural, right? What do you think is acceptable for your own body and what you want to achieve?
Yeah, because you're right. I do also believe, because what you said, it will take some time, but it's just that more and more people are trying to navigate around it, and now more and more testing is becoming better. I feel like we're going to have this conversation. We have to get involved in it, because it also, and it's also in terms of business as well. These places, they want to sell tickets. They want to. It's like, why do you go to the Olympia in the first place? You want to see the freaks. You know, you want to see the big boys. You want to see the big quads, big arms, and all that. And then they know they're not natural. It's also in terms of performances, in entertainment. Like, I keep going back to WWE because we want to see the big men. We want to see the freaks put each other through tables and chairs and do flips. It's the same. I'm always talking about fighters as well. Like, there was a reason why Pride was one of the most popular MMA events ever, because everyone was sourced up, you know.
Ubereem.
Yeah. And there's also another reason for NFL as well, man. Like some of the freak shows that were on that sort of stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
Super
some,
shows.
but I just also think just with sports, people are just different breeds. You know what I mean? That's why they're at that level. And then as years have gone and technology and, you know, education on strength conditioning, just training, sports, all that, people get better. So I think there's that as well. So I don't know. You put PEDs in sports and stuff, who knows?
Have you ever
Really
like
bad.
come to a point in your life where you think, maybe I might do this?
You know, yeah. Why not? I'm almost 30 and I've been like, yeah, especially now that I've just been in the industry like this, but nah, I'm good. I'm still, yeah, like there's no need to do it. I'm still a full functioning young man. I don't have any low levels or anything, you know what I mean? I'm all good. So there's no need to do anything like that. And I can put myself in a federation like an ICN or YNF where I know everyone else is on my level. So
What about you, Mark? Do you ever think you get to a point where you might end up doing it?
It's always been playing on my mind, right? Because,
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's like you want to, like, this is just something new that I'm just like dipping my toes in, and it's like, oh my god.
I thought people were saying maybe you were already doing that, right? not saying that. I just said people.
Yeah, I think it comes down to because it's a life-changing decision, right? There's so many factors, financial factors, like your relationships with other people might change. Who you are as a person fundamentally might change as well, because who you are before steroids and after steroids, like taking steroids, will just enhance who you are. Like if you're a very aggressive person already before steroids, you're just going to become even more aggressive, right? But it's a huge decision, because once you go down that path, you cannot go back. And it's taken so lightly these days, and it's because everyone is so young and they don't have that perspective on life. In 10, 20 years, it's like, was that really worth it? It's kind of like if your dream is to get onto the Olympia stage, then like by all means, like go for it. But it's kind of like there's also a genetic component. Like genetics is a huge component in bodybuilding, and you will know if you have the genetics to make it to the Olympia before you take steroids. Just look at Jay Cutler, just look at Ronnie Coleman. They were already like freaks when they were 16, or Lee Priest. Like, God, that guy, man. But yeah, it's not a decision to take lightly at all, because you are altering your body forever, and it will forever remain changed, and there are consequences to that, like your health. Are you able to have kids? Are you shaving years of your life, depending on how much you use or abuse, right? So yeah, it's something obviously that has crossed my mind, but I think you need to think about it a lot. And as you get older, your view on it will change. And I think eventually I might reach that crossroad, or maybe like who knows what will happen. Yeah. But I think my thoughts on it right now will be very different to my thoughts on it in 5 years.
Yeah, that's a fair point, because like it's scary to me when, like we were talking about earlier, SARS and broccoli. That is the most scariest thing in the world. I actually had a situation where I was in Bali a few weeks back. This dude, he came in and he was just like something out of a movie poster, man. It was absolutely shredded to the gills, and I was actually talking to him and all that, and then his back was like absolutely riddled with acne, so I could tell that he was on some stuff and all that. Yeah. And then I was actually having he was a nice guy. I was talking to him. And then I was asking him, like, oh, what do you do and all that, and what do you take, and do you compete? And then I finally got to my point, and he's like, how old are you, dog? And he was like, oh, I'm 19. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
it was big. It was way bigger than me. It was huge and all that. It was like 6'4", like at least 100. It almost looked like it was built like The Rock and all that. But then it was just saying to my point I got to make is like, in 10 years, what's this guy going to be thinking? And you're not, obviously you've been almost all three of us, you know what your mindset's like when you're 21 and how different it is now. And that's
yes, I'm old. Yes. I'm an old man. I'm kidding.
I think the correct word to use is wise.
Yeah, like I said, when I was 21, I was just finished college, so can't do that stuff. And I mean, don't get me wrong, you can do it once again. It's in sports, right? But how you get around it, all that. But
when you were rushing yards, and running trains through sororities.
Oh, yeah, jeez, that was back in the day. Definitely, back in the day.
Wait, what university did you say you went to again in America?
No, I just went to Menlo College as a private university. It was near Stanford, though, so down the street from Stanford where I worked.
Oh, okay. So did you ever get into like Stanford?
I had a Stanford ID, so yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like sneaking in and Stanford at night.
No, not like that. I wasn't like that. I only did like 1 or 2 type of party. Like they would do it big. So, went to like a whiteout party. So
A whiteout party?
like wearing white shirts, pants, everything, all white.
What, like a KKK meet?
Not necessarily. It turned into
Was
like,
that a KKK meet?
white shirts, wet shirts. You get what's going on, right? You get what was going on.
Yeah,
I was like, Joe, you out of everyone.
Was there a burning cross as well? Yeah.
No.
Was it a swingers party, Vince?
Oh, man. It's
close to it.
College was so many things going on. Who knows? It's probably all of it mixed in one. But no, yeah, I mean, like I said, back when I was younger, yeah, it wasn't a thought, you know what I mean? I knew I wasn't at that, unfortunately, level to make it professionally. So over the years and then becoming a personal trainer, working in the industry, it wasn't something to think of because I did, men's physique bodybuilding as a hobby, something fun because I wasn't playing anymore. And it was kind of me doing it to help me at my beginning stages of being a coach and, training clients, all that type of stuff, even though it was just Gen Pop I was training. So really my focus was just on learning and being better that way. Mm-hmm. And as I've gotten older, and more into bodybuilding and understanding and things of that nature, you question it, you learn, and, there's that really heavy stuff, like you said, trend, D-ball, those big things. But
did you ever come across that when you were playing NFL?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a couple guys that, you heard of, or you were like, well, geez, like, dude came back. Wasn't like necessarily good muscle weight. He just came back like a lot bigger, but like thicker. You know what I mean? Definitely had to change positions. But yeah, I mean, it happens. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Just like Mark was saying. And like you said, 19 year, like it's everywhere, regardless of the reason. Or even if you do bodybuilding, the top is here and you may, have a good physique, but even doing, steroids and stuff, it may only give you a little bit of extra. And that gap from the best in the world to where you are, is it worth doing? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's like where I'm at. It's like, well, I'm not going to be that's not my goal. It's not my plan to be an Olympian or anything. Mm-hmm. I want to do something, challenge myself, maybe motivate my clients, get other clients, or get people now who want to challenge themselves, do a show for the right reasons and stuff, and coach them. So it's like, no need for me to do it.
Fair enough. When you were playing football in college and all that, how many seasons did you say you did?
How many years total have I played? Or
Yeah.
Or in college did I do?
Yeah.
Which one? Altogether?
Altogether and in college, yeah. How much
20.
of that was? Yeah.
20 seasons, years.
So what tier was that school then?
My college?
Yeah.
It's Division 1 NAIA. So it was like equivalent to Division 3, Division 2 schools. Mm-hmm. So Stanford's like a Division 1 AA. Like the top, they're on TV almost every week. You know what I mean? And then there's Division 1, kind of like FCS, FBS, and then D2, D3. We kind of fell in those divisions.
Okay.
So we played like a Division 1 FBS team, like a smaller division under like a Stanford.
Okay. And you were running back?
No, I was more receiver and special teams return guy. So, but I could like, it was just weird because I always had different coaches in college, so different offenses, different schemes, I was a receiver, but I would get it handed to me like a running back.
Okay.
Like motion, fly sweep motion. So.
Okay. So, in your years of playing and all that, like, what was like the biggest, like, highest level that you got to and all that in terms of like, was it like stadium wise? Or did you guys go with a championship or?
We were, like in our division, right? Like NAIA schools, we were ranked in the top 25 in the nation at one point. I think we were close to dang there. Top 15 or something. And then it just, then we started playing harder teams and, things of that nature because we were never in a conference. So we would fly to Florida, Delaware, Illinois, all around to play some of the top schools. Whereas like our basketball team or our baseball teams were in a conference all within like California, like around California. So it was, yeah, I mean, it was a good experience, but you know, that sport in America, it's like very, very difficult to become the professional athlete. You know what I mean? So many.
I always admire that about Americans, how much of almost like a cult it is when it comes into gridiron football. Because if you think about here in Australia, we have a certain amount of universities and we have our own sports, but none of those sports compare to any to a gridiron game. Like the amount of production that goes into that stuff just alone, even to a single game, is like insane. But the amount of like funding and the amount of divisions, even from like peewee football all the way up to the big leagues, and how they have like tier 1, tier 2 schools, tier 3 schools, and then you talk about NCAs and conference schools. I'm just like, the amount of universities and teams that go into that is absolutely insane as well. It's just like, makes me wish sometimes that Australia's like, no, we got a lot to learn from this. I wish that we had that much of a cult following into it, because we have a lot of different sports that we dabble in, but like America's got that one gridiron, you know.
Yeah,
I think that's because of our culture. Because Australia is such a laid back nation, right? America's a very like in your face.
Be the best.
Yeah, like in your face, go 150% all the time. And I was speaking
Do you think that?
Well, I was speaking to Lachlan about it the other day. You know, the new receptionist?
Yeah.
He was telling me how that's one of the things that annoyed him coming back from college football back here, is that kind of laid back culture. Like he told me like how they would like during like class and stuff during semester, like everyone would go hard for 5 days. Those 5 days of the school week, and then on the weekend they'll go party, they'll go release, they would kind of get that stress relief, and then go back to that like hard like hustle grind during the week. And yeah, he said it's very different to what it's like here, and I feel like that's part of it. The way American, like obviously I'm not American, and I'm not trying to speak on your behalf, Vince. You've been at the thick of it, but from what Lachlan has explained to me, they take a lot of pride in what they do. Like for example, Christmas, Halloween, Valentine's Day. So much effort. He says so much effort is put into these events. Like everyone, like it's a special thing. Whereas in Australia, it's like it's Christmas.
I wish we were more like that though. I honestly do, because I'm thinking,
is this guy Australian and he lived in America, or he's American?
Yeah, he's Australian. Then went to play college football.
Yeah. So I actually, speaking about what you say about holidays and all that, I wish Australia was a little bit more intensive in that. Like it's with it's like with Halloween, right? I went trick-or-treating once when I was a kid in England, okay? Once. And I was about 7 or 8 years old at the time, and that's because the friend who took me was American. There you go. Halloween in America is like the most insane thing, and I think it's the coolest thing ever. And out here in Australia, we're just like, nah. And I just like, nah, come on, let's get more festive. Let's get involved in it, you know? And I wish that we did, because that would actually make the whole thing a lot more enjoyable. But as a collective, it has to be an effort. Also, on the other hand, do I think we are laid back? I do believe we are laid back, but I don't think we're as laid back as we think we are. You guys have a dad?
I'm just the American over here, you know. The guy Lachlan wasn't wrong.
I think not the issue, but like Australia takes a lot from other cultures.
Yeah,
it's like a amalgamation of like cultures of the world, right? Like one of the things was like that for college football games, like you always have the band playing before, and the band is like this huge spectacle, and there's so much choreo and effort put into it, and it sets up the game, right? But in Australia, we don't have that, and that made me really sad back in the music days. And like the music sort of sphere in Australia is very European influenced, and I feel like, you know, Halloween, Valentine's Day, and like the college, for using those as examples, they're all distinctly American. Whereas in Australia, we're just like kind of taking
We're at war of our own
bits and
public
bits.
holidays, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like Australia Day. It's the most debated public holiday we've got and all that. It's ours.
I mean, look, it's laid back in different ways, but it's still, it's not like everything or everyone. So
Yeah. Well, it's
but
just
it is
like,
a bit slower.
I mean, because I'm from England and all that, like, for me, one of my favorite things was to go to West Ham games because so much effort actually, but more effort goes into a single football West Ham game than goes into the games I've been out here. And because, like England, sport that's completely defined by it, they're all about getting pissed at the pub, going to the game, getting pissed after the game, talking about the games, chanting all the way, walking to the game. We don't get that stuff out here in Australia and all that. And here's the main thing I've always told people. AFL is I've integrated it and watching it because it gets more faster. But I've never been to an AFL game and I wouldn't really need to in terms of like intensity or atmosphere compared to anything like you're in England. So here's the thing. In England, you cannot have the opposition sit next to each other because that's how passionate you get. You cannot have a West Ham United supporter sit next to the opposition. Otherwise, there will be violence. There will be violence. And when you actually go to a West Ham game, they have to seal a section of the stadium off for the opposition, and then they have to have a row of police separate the two. Otherwise, there will be violence. And that is how intense it gets. But it's not like that if you go to an AFL game. Even if you go to a West Coast versus Fremantle game, they can still sit next to each other, even if they're sworn enemies. So, but that means they're not that as passionate about it, even though it's their own sport. But that's kind of where I'm going with it. But in terms of like intensity, I wish that they did. Like one of my favorite things I got to also admit about Americans is that every year the Super Bowl is like one of the biggest spectacles ever, and people talk about the Super Bowl for reasons other than the actual game itself. Like people talk about the halftime show, people talk about the people who were there, the fact that the friggin' Rock speech
Last time,
yeah. And then out here in AFL, I mean, obviously we don't have the money and all that. It was big, but I don't know who performed at halftime. I don't know who did what at halftime, or I don't even know who was performing before or was kicking it off. It's just, Australians got a lot to learn from Americans. So.
Yeah, in some things, yes. Yes. Americans could learn a thing or two as well.
Such as?
Just, I don't know. That's being a bit more laid back in certain things. Like I said, like you guys have Medicare here and stuff. So, but look, there's like so many things you can talk about, especially I don't even know half the things that go into, stuff out here that's different from America. So I'm just sure we can learn a few things, Could always learn something from someone.
Okay, so how long have you been out in Australia for now, Vince? I was gonna say?
A little over 5 years.
5 years.
Yep.
So you grew up in
California.
Okay, which is a Democratic or Republican state?
Oh,
is it a red or blue state
mainly? Red state.
Red state. Yeah,
I don't do politics, man.
yeah, that's
Why I
fine.
left too.
Really?
No, that's not why I left. But like, ever since I've left too, I just don't. It's when you hear especially certain issues, but just don't. Yeah, it's not worth energy or time really as much. So, but
Fair enough.
yeah, California's a bit. It's all weird. It's one of the biggest states, but it's like most expensive as well. And
Really?
yeah, like some states have taxes, some don't.
Or like state taxes?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
shit.
some don't. So like you could work somewhere and not be taxed. It's just weird. Whereas one state may have it and the other doesn't. So
In California had that big
Yeah.
state tax.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, how much was it though?
I don't even know. I went back to get my taxes one year and they wouldn't even give it to me. I had
Really?
all my IDs. They're like, oh, we need the letter we sent to your last address. It's like, I don't even live here anymore. Like, yeah, that's why I don't get into it much, man. But it's all is what it is, I guess.
Is it true that in America, but maybe not in all states, but some states that, let's say you have a relative who died and they were in hospital for a while, do you inherit the medical bill?
I don't know, actually.
Because I've heard
Probably. Someone's going to pay for it. I can tell you
Yeah.
that much. Trust me.
So that's one thing I've
Probably.
actually heard about is some hospitals. A lot of people are going bankrupt as
Probably.
well because they had a loved one who was dying, and then they had to pay the medical bill when they died. After they died, and had to do it in a certain day, and I'm just like, there's no payment plan for it. It's like, no, we need this money now.
That's what we can learn from Australia.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
The second thing is also like student loans as well.
Oh yeah, I got some.
You got some student loans.
I got more than some, but yeah, I got it on hold for another month or two, and then I gotta face reality because if not, it's just gonna get bigger and not go away. I went private university. I got some scholarships, but it wasn't a full ride. So I got some I got to pay, but that's why I'm fine over here, you know?
Well, that's one thing I always respect about our Australian university system. I get it. Nothing's perfect. No, nothing's perfect. We still got to pay a bit of chunk. But in America, how much it is for like one semester, it's like a ridiculous amount. And then they have to start paying it off. And then some people don't even pay it off in their lifetime, regardless of what they do. And that's another thing. And then they go, and then their kids have to inherit their debt. And then their kids are going to try and fucking go to college. And they paid off their fucking dad's university degree. They'd probably think to themselves, well, what's the fucking point? Then I'm going to spend my life working. And then my kids are going to inherit. And then they start that fucking cycle.
Yep.
So out here in Australia, I mean, we're definitely not perfect in terms of like the amount, in heck debt and all that. But I would say that was probably one of the biggest loan factors. Is I just literally started paying it off now when I got my tax returns, and I'm just like, fuck. Well, at least I'm not in Americans and all that because I actually have a client who is American and she's got like this big debt that she's trying to pay off right now.
I'm trying to hide still. Yeah. Yeah, that's our fears in America, student loans.
Yeah.
So
Fair enough. Anyway, gentlemen, so here's another topic I also got to just bring up into it real quick and all that because with America and, China and all that, this is just spitball and all that. We also got everything that's going on right now in Russia and Ukraine. It's too good not to ignore and all that. Obviously, you've been American Vince and all that. You don't want to get too much into politics. But what's your whole take on it? Do you think eventually America will get involved under Joe Biden, or do you think it would have been different under Trump and all that?
I think they already are with Biden. I'm pretty sure he's sending people and sending money over there. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't remember, but I think that's what he's doing.
What did I do with 30,000 troops?
He just finished his time. He doesn't know where he's going. He's like, yeah. You ever see? You know who he reminds me of? Joe Biden. You ever saw that? It's probably a real. Who knows? Facebook, whatever. It was a video where this old guy's trying to do this commercial with this old lady, like baked on a crispy, flaky crust or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he just kept messing up, like he couldn't remember it. That's who he reminds me of, because he makes no sense when he talks sometimes. Joe Biden, if you hear when he speaks. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, shit. It's tough because, no one wants World War III, right?
Otherwise, Vince is going to do shit back and have to go.
Biden may do that.
Would they actually do that, though, in conscription?
I don't know. That's what I mean. I have no idea. I'm here. Look, I just need to get my PR here, and who knows? I'm just waiting. I'm over here. That's all I know. So, I'm not sure. But, yeah, hopefully not. That would suck.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rough situation for the Ukrainian people, right? But yeah, as Vince said, like all like the NATO nations and stuff, they're already sending like equipment, firearms, ammunition, food supplies, that kind of thing. But it's like once you have men on the ground fighting with the Ukrainian people, that's the game, right? That's World War III. And like just recently, like the Russians like fired a missile at the German what do you call it, consulate, or I don't know what you call those things in Ukraine, and it's like, oh shit, shit's about to go down. So yeah, it's surprising how long it's lasted. I'm surprised how just like incessant Putin has been with what he wants, and it's crazy stuff, man.
You're right. I didn't think it was going to last this long either. I thought if Russia was rolling into Ukraine, unless we actually got a lot more foreign aid, I didn't think it was actually going to stay as long because how aggressive he is also been with tactics and like bombing hospitals and highways and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was strange though, because when it started, everybody was like reporting about it on the news, and they were reporting about it for some time. And then all of a sudden there was like a gap where no one said anything for like 4 or 5 months. Now all of a sudden it's ramped up again because Putin's like mobilized the reserve army. And then right now there's like this mass exodus out of Russia because now more than ever people are protesting against Putin and all that. So,
dude, have you seen the TikToks?
No, what TikToks?
It's just like TikToks of Ukrainian soldiers on the ground fighting Russian soldiers.
What,
like,
they actually have TikToks of people on the ground?
Yeah, like I've had TikToks popping up of like dudes firing like javelin missiles and like sniping bloody Russian missiles out of the air. It's nuts. It's crazy.
Holy shit, that shit's on TikTok as well. Fuck, that would have gone viral. That was gone viral and all that. And then what is the next up? It's like Sally from whatever doing like a dance and all that.
Yeah, man, it's on TikTok now. It's crazy.
Honestly, I believe that TikTok's now become everyone's gateway to everything. But I also believe it's I would argue it's the most potent of the social medias.
Yeah.
Like, are you on it, Vince?
Nope.
No.
Good. Stay off it, Vince. Please stay off it.
Stay off that shit.
I don't need to.
Yeah.
I'm off it. I'm good.
All right. I'm going to change the subject and all that a little bit and get away from Ukraine and Russia because I got to talk about this now. This is one of the reasons why I also personally want to get off social media, and I'm trying to get off social media as a whole. I'll explain that in a second. But on TikTok, there is it's some kind of weird mental disorder cesspool. So do you guys know what dissociative identity disorder is?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So it's a disorder where you think you have multiple people coexisting in your head. It's not like, it's a bit similar to, it's not split personality, but it's similar to it. All right. It's where you identify as like multiple people at once.
Right.
And then there's this, I went down this rabbit hole. These people investigating now. TikTok is literally like, it creates an algorithm where you want to see what's popular based on what you see. And people film like these TikToks where they self-diagnose themselves as having some kind of mental disorder. And now they've like made it popular to have some form of mental disorder.
Dude, yeah, it's fucked. Like everyone wants to be like, oh, I'm suffering the worst. Like I'm different from the crowd. Yeah, and TikTok is really kind of enhancing that. And on the algorithm, I saw an interesting video of on Andrew Tate.
Yeah, boy, my boy. Sorry, yeah.
And there was a guy asking this I think it was a university college student, like, what do you think of Andrew Tate in the situation? And the guy had a really interesting answer. He said it was an algorithmic problem. Different people are being shown different sides of Tate. Like, and this is a great example. Like with Jasmine, like Jasmine gets shown all the bad stuff about Andrew Tate because she's a girl. I get shown all the motivational good stuff about Tate because I'm a guy.
Yeah,
and it's making this huge rift and this divide in the community just because the algorithm is showing these two different sides of someone, right? It's crazy how like this like algorithm, this AI can discern if you're a female or a male.
Well, on one top of that, right, on one step closer towards that, and I'll get your opinion on the moment on this sort of stuff in a minute, Vince, but because it's Chinese, that's the main thing. That's one of the reasons why I tell people to get off. This is a Chinese app, and it's purposely trying to create an algorithm to piss you off. So if you're a guy, it would be Andrew Tate, anti-male misandry, Andrew Tate, porn, whatever the fuck, whatever the fuck they're putting on TikTok these days. Titties, dissociative identity disorder. I'm just like, oh my God. And then you've wasted 20 minutes and you got mad about that shit. And if you're a girl, it's like, Yas Queen, West King, Andrew Tate, misogynistic.
Yeah.
And then it's, I don't know, fucking whatever, titties or ass or whatever they're into. But
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why, because they create these algorithms where they're trying to get information about you and purposely trying to piss you off. And then I actually read more into that, and this was one of the reasons I read off, because if you think about it, we're living in a world right now where social media, like anxiety and depression, has never been higher. I was training a client this morning how now 1 in 10 kids in high school have anxiety, or 1 in 10 kids got depression. And I think it's because of the social media. I feel like as human beings, we were never equipped to be that much on technology. You know what I mean? I never believed and that's why I'm starting to feel like we're going down that road, because it's a slippery slope. And now we got lunatics self-diagnose themselves with mental disorders, which is scary to believe. So that's one of the top 10 reasons why I thought, like, okay, I'm getting off social media as much as I can. Only use it when I actually need it. Like promoting this podcast, checking in on my buddies, like, you good? All right, let's catch you later. Yeah. Anyway, Vince, the point I was trying to get to you right now is because on the last episode, one of the last episodes I had with Mark and Johnny, we actually talked about Andrew Tate, and now it's still a thing going on right now. I wanted to actually get your perspective on it.
How he's what?
Yeah, like him in general. Like, what do you think? Do you think he's good? Do you think he's bad?
Nice. I think with how social media is, it can be bad to portray how like guys and young kids should treat women in a way, you know what I mean? Or what he says, like slut or, bitch, this and that. It's probably not the best, but I mean, he's confident, speaks his mind. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, really. I mean, if people want to like him or don't like him, who cares? But some things, maybe chill because of who the audience can be. Mm-hmm. But he's not it's not like he's a bad person, I don't think. I'm sure he just does good, and he got to where he's at working hard for a reason, you know what I mean? Some people are born into it and get breaks, but I'm sure some people work hard and reach where they get to because of the things they do. So, correct. I don't know. I don't have a good or a bad view. Just, he is what he is. Whenever I would see it, I'd stop and see what he says. So,
yeah, I just think that sometimes this goes back to what I said earlier, referring back to what I said earlier at the beginning of the podcast. But I just feel like sometimes I've said this so many times on this podcast, but I feel like as humans, we are so quick to judge other people's flaws and be so ignorant of our own. What I mean by that is like, oh, we're going to ban Andrew Tate on social media, okay? But we're going to make one of the most notorious serial killers, Jeffrey Dahmer, even more famous. So we're going to ban a guy who just said some things that people don't agree with, and we're going to make a dude who literally drilled holes into people's heads and pulled sulfuric acid in them even more famous.
Yeah, like the Taliban on Twitter, or the Ayatollah of Iran. On Twitter. Yeah,
I didn't know that. So I'm like, where's the line here? You know what I mean? Like but again, it's like we're going to judge that, but we're going to be ignorant of that. Like it's. Honestly, it's a side swipe, and that's why when Andrew Tate got banned on everything, I'm like, this is just further adding to my point. This is causing more problems than it's solving.
Well, have you seen Jordan Peterson got banned as well?
No.
Like, have you seen I think it was Olivia Wilde? She made a movie where there's the antagonist is based on Jordan Peterson, and it's this really shitty take on Jordan Peterson, and he got asked what he thinks of it, and he started crying, man.
Yeah, he kind of broke down Piers Morgan, because I would argue Jordan Peterson is the most misrepresented human being ever. In terms when it came to the whole cultural battle and all that. I've actually spent $100-something just to go listen to him talk, and it was the best fucking 2 hours. I'd rather sit down and listen to him talk for 2 hours than a lot of other things I've done. And I think his book, 12 Rules for Life and 12 More Rules for Life, are probably cultural phenomenons, and that every little kid struggling, or every person struggling in life right now, can get something out of it. And he's been battling all that constant stuff, and he's been constantly reassuring his position, and he's been constantly debating. And then it would just take someone such as her. She probably doesn't know much about him himself, or have much to or know much about his work and what he stands for, and just makes that connotation of him. And in a way, I can compare him to Andrew Tate. Like, a lot of the things that Andrew Tate got banned for, you know, or people were saying about him were not true, or things taken out of context. So, like, referring back to the movie, like, have you actually seen the movie though?
No, I just saw the clip of Jordan Peterson getting asked about it, and then I sort of dug into it a bit, but I don't really know much about it.
Yeah. When did he? So he got banned on Twitter this morning.
No, he got banned a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Because he went on Piers Morgan.
I don't know. Well, have you seen the Andrew Tate on Piers Morgan?
I have. Have you?
I haven't seen the whole thing. I've seen clips of it. Yeah.
Have you?
No.
No. It's so good. I loved it. You know. And he just sat there the whole time, just like very stoic. Like, and one thing I love to study about people in those having those conversations and those topics is the man who holds his cool always wins. The man who holds like that detaches himself, like doesn't show that emotion. And that's what I'm always saying with people when it comes to arguments. Don't get emotional. Once you get emotional, once you hurt to insults, you lose the argument. And then it was just Piers trying to constantly like talk over him. Yeah. Piers had some good points though. I'll give him that.
Oh yeah.
He definitely had some moments, but the whole time it was just Andrew just like, no, you should be gone. You cannot take me down. It was like Gandalf when he tried to block that Balrog. You shall not pass. That's what it felt like to me, you know. And I was quite proud of it. I think he held himself really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think that it makes him even more popular when stuff like that happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Sure. All right, gentlemen. I think we can call it there. Thank you very much for coming back on. Before I let you guys go, let's just do a little quick shout out and all that. Vince, if anyone wants to follow you, where can they find you?
Not on TikTok. Instagram, I guess. That's really the only thing I'm on. I'm on Facebook, but Instagram. So find me on Instagram. Am I supposed to give him my username?
Yes.
I think it's, what is it? I gotta look at it too. Jeez. Coach_Vince VILLICANO. That is me.
Is that how you pronounce your last name?
VILLICANO. Yeah.
Oh.
That's it. Yeah. Oh.
I always thought it was Chano. Villicano.
That's what I was about to say.
No, it's not necessarily Italian, so it's not Chano.
Oh.
No, Villicano. Nah. Yeah. Oh. So that's where they can find me. Or you can find me. Wait, I can't name locations. Never mind. You can find me at the gym I work at.
You can.
New Movement. New Movement.
Yeah.
Osborne Park.
Great gym.
Amazing gym. Got saunas now. Great environment.
Yeah.
I got saunas. We got the spa sauna area. We got medial massage. We got everything you need, including me.
There we go.
You can find me on Instagram at Mark Y Warrener. That's MARKYWARRENER. It's just me posting gym clips basically at this point. So
10 tagging me, so you can find me through Mark's Instagram as well, and watch all these amazing improvements we make.
Awesome.
Mark's gonna be a beast soon.
Hopefully,
another champ.
Awesome.
Oh, and me too. I'm not competing not to win, just so we know. So you can find me. Was it season 8, 2023?
25 weeks, 25 weeks, 24 weeks.
You just tell me when I'm ready.
He's a weapon. This guy's a weapon.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I really appreciate you guys coming back. And thank you very much, guys, for listening to the Last Set Podcast. And that is game.